Let us pray. We, thine unworthy servants, here gathered together in thy name, do humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above to direct and guide us in all our considerations. Amen.
Introduction of visitors.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of this Assembly the newly appointed Consul General of the Netherlands, Baron Marnix van Aarssen and his wife, Baroness van Aarssen. They're seated in your gallery. Mr. Speaker, the Netherlands represent an important trading partner for Alberta. It is a strong and influential advocate within the European community for free market principles and the need for substantial reform to the European community's common agricultural policy, both positions strongly supported by Alberta. Consul General is paying his first visit here. He will reside in Vancouver, but we are well represented here in this province by honorary consuls from time to time, both in Edmonton and Calgary. I would ask that he and his wife rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 14. This is the Historic Resources Amendment Act 1991. This is a money bill. His Honor, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed with the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, this amendment will establish a regulated fund into which the revenues from admissions to museums and historic sites will be deposited to provide funds and finances for the maintenance and of our programming at our various historic facilities.
The Honorable Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism has moved first reading to Bill 14, Historical Resources Amendment Act 1991. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 14, Historical Resources Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the Honorable Mr. Maine, is now read a first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill 23, the Environment Council Amendment Act 1991. The amendments incorporated into this bill, Mr. Speaker, reflect a revitalization of the Environment Council of Alberta, which began in January 1990 with the appointment of Dr. Natalia Krawitz as Chief Executive Officer. Through intensive and extensive consultation, the Environment Council has redefined its mission: 1, to be proactive; 2, to focus on a long-term strategic view of the environment; and 3, to ensure a broad range of public involvement. I'm confident, Mr. Speaker, that these amendments will facilitate that mission.
The honourable member for Banff Cochrane has moved first reading to Bill 23, Environment Council Amendment Act 1991. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 23, Environment Council Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Evans, is now read a first time.
House Leader.
Environment Council Amendment Act 1991 be placed on the order paper under Government Bills and Orders.
Having heard the motion, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Are we interrupting something going on in the House, please? Carried.
Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I take pleasure in tabling a soil conservation kit in recognition of National Soil Conservation Week.
Introduction of special guests.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce to you and through you to this Assembly 6 Alberta students ranging from grades 4 to 6 who have the distinction of being finalists in the National Soil Conservation Week poster competition. They are, and I would ask them to stand as I call their names. I believe they're all in the members' gallery. Leanne Demterko of St. Charles School in Nampa and the principal of that school, Noel Cairns. James Babinek of Elk Point Elementary School in Elk Point, Alberta. His parents, Elaine and Ted Babinek, and his sister, Tara Lee. Brian Rosenfeder of Nelson Heights School in Cold Lake, his parents Wayne and Janice, and his sister Jennifer. Sarah Hoffner of Star Ridge School near Botha, and her parents Mr. and Mrs. Hoffner. Brent Mollering and Brad Belanger of Camellia School in Riviera Quebar near Morinville made a joint submission. They are accompanied by Brent's parents Gerald and Heather Mollering, and Brad's parents, Dennis and Dale Belanger. Mr. Speaker, also accompanying these students are Wayne Arison, president of the Alberta Conservation Tillage Society, and his wife Donna. John Hermans, head of the Conservation and Development Branch of Alberta Agriculture. And Rob Shackle, Conservation Awareness Specialist in the Department of Agriculture. I would share with you, Mr. Speaker, and the Assembly that Leanne Demterko's poster was the runner-up poster at the National Soil Conservation Poster Competition in Regina, and I'd ask that they all stand and that the members join me in welcoming them to the Assembly.
Additional.
Ministerial statements.
Mr. Speaker, National Soil Conservation Week was initiated 6 years ago by the federal and provincial governments to focus attention on soil conservation issues across the country. Soil degradation is a serious threat to our agricultural industry and to our society. We must all take an active role in protecting, maintaining, and enhancing our soil resources. Our goals are to promote the awareness of the problems resulting from soil deterioration, education of the causes of soil deterioration, and the understanding that we are all responsible for our soils. Activities during National Soil Conservation Week include a wide range of events and involve planning and participation from federal, provincial, and municipal government agencies, producer groups, private firms, and concerned individuals. Activities planned include a display at the Provincial Museum in Edmonton, April the 12th to the 14th, distribution of a tabloid to Alberta households, radio and television interviews with producers and Alberta agricultural staff. The television advertisements aimed at the urban audience. Response to National Soil Conservation Week has always been excellent, and we are expecting many informative and fun activities across the province this year. I hope that you and your families will be able to take part in some of the activities during National Soil Conservation Week, because soil conservation is in our hands.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's hard to disagree with this ministerial announcement. As the minister says, soil degradation is a serious threat, no doubt about that, to our agriculture industry and to our society and to our environment, Mr. Speaker, and we can certainly agree with the intent of the statement. However, I think because of the seriousness of the matter, we would look for some more concrete proposals or initiatives from the government dealing with more research and development, especially looking at what we can do to encourage more efficiently organic farming, cutting back on herbicides. All these things are having a serious effect on our agricultural industry, Mr. Speaker. Along with that, even the method of payment for agricultural subsidies sometimes encourages bad use of land, and I've had farmers tell me this, Mr. Speaker, that they have no choice to collect on payments if they're doing things they know are wrong to land. These are people that went to such schools as Olds and these sorts of things. So, Mr. Speaker, agreeing with the ministerial statement by the minister, we'll be looking for some very concrete moves from this government in the very near future.
Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, to the Deputy Premier. Mr. Speaker, last Thursday, Albertans were subjected to one of the more extreme examples of public deception I've seen in ages, the completely mythical so-called balanced budget. But, Mr. Speaker, the government was not content with one day of the glory of deception. Over the last 3 days and continuing even today, Mr. Speaker, Albertans were also subjected to a taxpayer-funded media campaign of television, radio, and print ads to sell this budget fantasy, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, a confident lot this bunch is. They're so nervous, Mr. Speaker, they're so nervous that Albertans won't believe them, that in desperation they've taken to selling this budget like some new and improved detergent. Mr. Speaker, only this one won't wash, Mr. Speaker.
Right on.
My question to the Deputy Premier is this. Why did the government find it necessary to waste the taxpayers' money on this media blitz? Was it because that Albertans didn't believe them budget day, Mr. Speaker?
The Leader of the Opposition talks about deception. Nothing could have been more along that line than his speech in the House on Friday morning. If he wants to talk about deception, he should refer to his own words, not the words of the budget speech. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that it's incumbent upon the government to inform its citizens as to what its policies are. And in order to do so, we chosen to distribute as widely as possible the facts regarding Alberta's strong economy and its fiscal integrity and its fiscal plan. And I make no apologies whatsoever for taking every possible step to let Albertans know the truth.
This has nothing to do with the facts. It's blatant propaganda paid for by the taxpayers of Alberta.
That's right.
I want to ask my second question to the Minister for Economic Development and Trade, Mr. Speaker. It's bad enough what we've seen, I've just been talking about, but we also saw a half-hour program that ran on Access TV immediately prior to that budget, Mr. Speaker, and we're told that that program was also paid for by public money with the heavy involvement of the Department of Economic Development and Trade, Mr. Speaker. And my question simply to assist to the Minister, will the Minister justify his department's intimate involvement with this program's production? In other words, why were public television dollars used to sell this government's partisan snow job?
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, let me underscore what the Deputy Premier has just indicated, whereby we are proud that we can use many sources and many means to communicate with the Alberta population. We feel we've got an obligation to communicate the truth to them, whereby this province is a leading province as it relates to economic growth. We're the only province that has not experienced a recessionary period, and we're delighted that we can come forward with a balanced budget. And we're delighted that we can take that message to the Alberta population. We're going to continue to take it to the Alberta population so that the Alberta population is aware of the strength within the province of Alberta.
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I might have thought that I was listening to Bill Vanderzam, because that's exactly what he said about BC.
That's right.
Here's what the BC government said. Our record of achievement is unmatched by any government in Canada. The best fiscal record in Canada. Strongest regulation in North America. Oh, Mr. Speaker, but my question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, the new Public Affairs Bureau guru, the Minister of Propaganda, Mr. Speaker. Will the Minister tell the taxpayers of Alberta, who I'm sure will be very interested, how much this media blitz has cost them at a time we don't have money for farmers, seniors, the poor, battered women? How much did it cost them?
Here, let's find out.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the minister is responsible for the program. We'd be more than glad to provide that information if the request goes on the order paper. But in terms of suggesting that money is being spent on media, on advertising, and that money is being taken away from seniors and farmers and other people in Alberta to do that, Mr. Speaker, that's absolutely false. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely false.
You found it under a tree, right?
Mr. Speaker, I take it by the answer to that question, they have no idea how much they spend.
Right.
They just spend a bunch of money on television. Go to it, Mr. Speaker. The minister doesn't know. Mr. Speaker, some management government, I can believe it. Right. Mr. Speaker, my second question is to the Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, nowhere is dishonesty and cruelty more impaired in this budget than in the health department, Mr. Speaker. Let's start, first of all, with dishonesty first, Mr. Speaker. The minister has repeatedly stated that health will receive, and said again in a press conference today, will receive a 9.8% increase this year. Mr. Speaker, this is absolute and total nonsense, and the minister is aware of it. The government has used the cute accounting trick of comparing this year's spending to the estimate for last year and not to the amount they actually spent in the updated forecast, Mr. Speaker. The increase is actually about 6%, which is about the projection for inflation in the next year. My question to the minister is simply this. Would the minister indicate to the Assembly and to the people of Alberta why she wants to overestimate the percentage increase in this year's budget? What is the purpose of misleading Albertans?
Here, here. Mr. Speaker, it is the responsibility of the provincial treasurer and all of us in government to present estimates of expenditure each budget year. Those estimates were presented last year, and we have to have corresponding numbers for comparison purposes this year. That is what has occurred. We will be spending 9.8% more this year than last on health, which equates to a $304 million increase over the previous year's estimate, and doesn't include $128 million in health capital projects over last year. The numbers are not in any way misleading. They are a picture of what Albertans will be spending in health this year over what was estimated last year.
Mr. Speaker, that's my point. Just because you underestimate your estimates, that's why this is a bunch of trickery, Mr. Speaker.
Right. Exactly.
And we know what you spent. We know what the special warrants were. That's the money that was spent. Now, I ask the minister again, wouldn't it have been more reasonable and fair to Albertans to compare the money that you actually spent last year, and that would have in fact been 6%. And I want to know again why she deliberately misleads the people of Alberta with these projections.
Again, we had this reminder the last day that we sat. The question is phrased as, why does the minister deliberately mislead? And that is unparliamentary. Perhaps the member for the leader of the opposition would care to rephrase that. Please withdraw it.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Well, why is she distorting the facts then to the people of Alberta?
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, we aren't distorting the facts. We are giving an estimate from one year to the next for comparable purposes, and that estimate is 9.8% over the previous year's estimate. The budget books have to be the picture.
and that's what we're presenting.
She just admitted that they're very bad estimators, Mr. Speaker.
That's
That's what the reality is, Mr. Speaker. My question, don't get upset, Deputy Premier. I might even ask you a question, Mr. Speaker. But back to the minister, Mr. Speaker. This minister, every time that I see her on television or here in the Assembly, she talks about all the money they're spending in health care rather than talking about how they are spending it, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the minister this. With all the money that they say they're spending, why is health care in such disarray? We have bed closures, we have staff layoffs, we have long waiting lists, Mr. Speaker. How can you justify the problems that are going if all that money is being spent?
Mr. Speaker, we will no doubt get into the issues of how we are spending that $3.4 billion in our estimates during the estimates from the Department of Health. But let me say that despite a 10% or rather a 9.8% increase this year over last in health, we have made some major adjustments in our programs, some more emphasis towards community as opposed to institutional care, some major adjustment and review of programs in that order that we could update those programs, some adjustments in the way that we're funding health, some adjustments with respect to the acute care funding plan. The how is the issue that is extremely complex. It's one that we're working through in health. But again, I would stress to this honourable member that the first and foremost purpose of our health care plan is to provide reasonable access to service for Albertans. That is its first and primary purpose. If he only measures that issue on the number of beds used to do that, I would dare say that he doesn't anywhere near understand the complexity of the health system and the work that's being done to ensure that we've got one 20 years from now to pass on to the next generation.
Agreed.
Continue on with some questions on health care. Despite the government's assurances that they're committed to a fair and balanced system of health care delivery, and we heard about it again this morning, Mr. Speaker, the continual increase to health care premiums tells a very different story about the commitment. Mr. Speaker, any government that continues to employ a regressive tax for health care is not a government interested in fairness. Last year, the government announced increases to premiums until they covered 50% of basic costs. Well, we're at 50%. If this policy, Mr. Speaker, is anything like the other policies of the government on tuition fees or municipal grants, then Albertans should be really, really worried. My questions are to the Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker. What assurances can the minister give that the government isn't arbitrarily going to hike premiums next year to cover an even greater portion of the costs of health care?
Mr. Speaker, first off, the premiums are neither regressive nor a tax. In the first place, they are not regressive because they are not regressive because they are an income test in terms of the ability to pay. And the honourable member will probably want to note that over 220,000 low-income Albertans pay partial or no health care premiums, and as well 270,000 seniors and their dependents pay no health care premiums at all. Secondly, last year we decided and made the budgetary commitment to move the premiums towards a target of about 50% of basic health costs. And let me remind honourable members what that means. It means that that's primarily the fees paid to physicians in Vote 2 of the Department of Health Services, exempting those services for seniors. It does not cover hospital costs. It does not cover long-term care costs. So let's be clear about what we're talking about here. The issue of the premium, the issue of protecting Albertans from premiums is in fact something that we feel is an important statement to Albertans about those premiums going into a specially earmarked fund as opposed to a tax which would go into the general revenue of the province. That is not the case. I look forward to the continued discussion with the honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, that's just patent nonsense. It is a tax, and it's a regressive tax at that. Mr. Speaker, and it hits at the people. Oh, well, anyway. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the minister if the minister is going to raise the income levels that are eligible for subsidy. those income levels that now are currently way below the poverty line. Is that going to change?
Mr. Speaker, there will be no adjustments in that income level as part of the 91-92 budget. I am prepared, and frankly, I would have hoped within the approach to the budget of health that we could perhaps have made some adjustments in that level this year, but in order to do the many other things that we're doing in health, that simply wasn't possible. I will, however, commit to this legislature that I would be pleased to review with the Treasurer those income levels of support. But again, I remind Albertans, there are 270,000 seniors and their dependents paying no health care premium in this province. And there are 220,000 Albertans paying low or no premium for health care in this province. That's very much a statement of priority about putting those resources where we think they are needed most.
Mr. Speaker, this is a 13% increase, hitting the people that can least afford it. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Minister if the Minister or the government or the department has any information that shows that low-income Albertans can withstand this kind of an increase in health care premiums. Have we done any studies? Have we asked anybody about it?
Mr. Speaker, we have been careful in the structuring of not only our entire provincial budget in order that it could be brought in on a balanced basis, but we've placed a very high priority, as the provincial treasurer noted last night, on the priority programs of government. That meant that in order that this Minister of Health could stand in this legislature and talk about the increase of 9.8% over last year to health, that other departments of government had to take significant reductions. And those adjustments were not made easily, Mr. Speaker, and they were not made half-heartedly. They were made with the conviction that we want to be able to sustain our health system into the future. They were adjustments that were made. They are not everything everybody would have wanted, but in our best judgment, they are a balance for the people of this province and for the future of their health care system.
Under fair.
Wainwright. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Agriculture. The cattle industry is one of Alberta's most important economic generators. Prices have been relatively high. Last year, total sales for the first time were higher than grains and oilseed sales. Expansion has taken place in the industry, and the expansion must also take place in marketing. The industry is very concerned that the grading system, by not being commonly recognized worldwide, is hindering exports. Has any progress been made in obtaining a reciprocal grading system with the U.S.?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member for Wainwright does recognize the strength of the livestock sector in this province and does identify a concern that we're working on to enhance the marketing of it. We've been pressing along with the Government of Canada, along with the Alberta Cattle Commission, the National Cattle Commission, to get the United States to work out under the free trade agreement either a harmonization of our grading system so it is the same on both sides of the line, or a reciprocal system whereby plants in Canada could get graded to U.S. grade levels, and U.S. plants, if they so desired, could get the reciprocal grading from Canada. So far, we haven't achieved that goal, but we're certainly applying all the pressure we can to get there.
Would this reciprocal agreement, if we get it in place, be recognized by our other foreign markets, specifically the Pacific Rim markets?
If we got either system in place, either the harmonization or the reciprocal grading, I believe it would be an asset to us in the Pacific Rim markets.
Calgary Forest Lawn, then Westlock Sturgeon.
Speaker, the Minister of Energy's credibility is on the line because of the overly optimistic energy estimates provided by the Treasurer in this year's budget. For example, in 1989-90, the only year for which we have hard facts, we received $960 million from the sale of natural gas. Yet this year's budget predicts a revenue of $1.3 billion an increase of some 36%. Mr. Speaker, to the Treasurer, to the Minister of Energy, given that Oil Week predicts that we're only going to see a 2% increase over these 2 years in the amount of gas that will be sold, and that the minister himself said that price is going to remain flat, how does he justify this overly optimistic estimate?
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, there's a couple of ways in which we will see expanded volumes, sales volumes for natural gas for the coming year. I do not expect to see a price increase over last year. For budget purposes, we basically had a flat price projection. There's a couple of ways. One is that there has been a pre-arrangement through the Iroquois volumes into the northeast United States, so that through interconnects, Northern Border will be able to take more volume of gas until the Iroquois project is on stream. TransCanada is expanding the western segment of their pipeline system, and that will mean that there will be more volumes available for Ontario and Quebec until the Iroquois project comes on stream in late 1992. There's some other areas, Mr. Speaker. We are seeing a significant decline in the amount of freehold production, because freehold production is old production, and it is being replaced by Crown volumes. And I should say that we also don't expect a unseasonably warm winter for this coming year, as opposed to the unseasonably warm winter we just experienced. And if you were to have a look at it, Mr. Speaker, you would see that it was unseasonably warm. So we expect a return to normal temperatures next year. That's one of the elements, but certainly higher volumes. The question the member asked on higher volumes, Mr. Speaker, I believe I answered that. Yeah. A final point, because there will be increased volumes, there will be more natural gas processed in the year, and by increasing the economies of scale on gas processing, that will mean that it will bring down the overall cost of processing to the Crown that is done by the producers.
Good answer.
Mr. Speaker, I wonder if we're going to get the same optimistic speculation with respect to the sale of Crown leases. The Treasurer's predicted an increase of 35% in revenue bonuses from the sale of Crown lands. Yet, Mr. Speaker, Oil Week's latest forecast predicts only a 7 to 8% increase in the sale of Crown leases, and other experts make predictions minus 10%, plus 10%. How does the minister justify this 35% increase in bonuses from the sale of Crown lands?
We'll have more Crown sales, Mr. Speaker.
Right on. Right on. Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question is first to Minister of Economic Development and followed by the Intergovernmental Affairs. The tour at the Crow's Nest Pass, Mr. Speaker, about 10 days ago, I was quite disturbed by having the highest unemployment rate in Alberta, and also the fact that there's very little cooperation. There seems to be a great deal of difficulty in trying to get the coal mines underway or markets for coal. I'd be very interested in whether the Minister of Economic Development has met with his British Columbia counterpart to discuss possible ways of getting more coal markets into the Crow's Nest Pass area, all the way from Fernie through to Blairmore.
Mr. Speaker, we have had an ongoing dialogue with the member of the Legislative Assembly for Pincher Creek Crow's Nest to see what avenues we can explore to offer added initiatives to that area, recognizing that it is a depressed area. As the honourable member for Westlock Sturgeon is aware, we have in the past involved ourselves with a number of endeavours, some of them successful, some of them not so successful. But we are going to continue to support that area, recognizing that there is limited opportunities there, and for that reason we as a government feel an added obligation to it.
Mr. Speaker, then to the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, because the region is split in the middle by the BC-Alberta boundary and the people move back and forth and employed on either side, the problem becomes an intergovernmental one. Has the Minister talked at all or given any consideration to acquiescing to the wishes of the public there to a referendum as to whether they could have the whole pass area either all belong to BC or all belong to Alberta? In this restructuring of Confederation, would you agree to have a referendum there?
Mr. Speaker, it's not been an active item for consideration between the governments of British Columbia and Alberta, nor has it ever been raised in the course of Western premiers or other premiers conferences. I would not, I don't think, initiate a referendum without having had representations in support of such an endeavor by the member of the Legislative Assembly for that constituency or region, nor from the people themselves. And therefore I appreciate the honourable member's interest, but don't think that it is a probability in the longer or even in the shorter or even longer term.
Very briefly,
Mr. Speaker, as part of the diversification initiative of this government, the activity in the area of tourism has been a big boon to the Pincher Creek Crow's Nest area. Through the Leach Collieries development, the Frank Slide Interpretive Center, the Blairmore Journal, the Coleman Journal, the Blairmore Mine, all helping to provide other avenues for employment.
Mr. Speaker, the collection and disposal of garbage is clearly a municipal responsibility. Yet the Minister of Environment and the Minister of Municipal Affairs had to step in to assist the City of Edmonton in this matter. The city has demonstrated a tremendous inability to resolve this matter, particularly under the former mayor who now sits in this House. Time is running out, Mr. Speaker. Can the Minister of Environment advise what progress is being made in resolving this growing garbage crisis?
You do right now. Mr. Speaker, as a result of the Department of the Environment advising the Edmonton Board of Health that there were some very serious environmental concerns with the proposed Orem site, we felt that we had a responsibility to help resolve this very, very serious issue of waste management, not only within the city of Edmonton, but throughout the surrounding regions. Therefore, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and myself managed to get together the four surrounding counties, the city of Edmonton, and about 9 or 10 municipalities, and have those jurisdictions reach agreement that there ought to be a regional solution to this problem. This is now being coordinated through the Department of Municipal Affairs and the Department of Environment, and indeed the Department of the Environment has seconded to this group one of our top experts in the field, Dr. Bruce Taylor, to provide coordination expertise, and hopefully, Mr. Speaker, within a reasonable time frame, we should be able to bring forth a recommendation that will provide a good solution to this problem, and believe me, it will be something more than just another dump. It will be a comprehensive approach to this very serious problem in the Edmonton region.
Blanchard Clover Bar, followed by West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to get the Minister to provide some assurance that we will have an environmentally acceptable solution rather than another landfill or another garbage dump.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is a golden opportunity to create a model, if you will, for waste management in this country. And indeed, we aren't looking at just another landfill site. We're looking at the kinds of things that should have been looked at years ago but weren't. We're looking at new technologies in waste management. We're looking at composting. We're looking at enhanced blue box programs. We're looking at separation, mechanical separation of waste. And we're looking at, of course, the use of existing environmentally sound landfills. In other words, we're looking at a comprehensive approach to this problem involving the cooperation of all the municipalities in the Edmonton district.
Mr. Speaker, today the Minister of Health claimed that adjustments to the Aids to Daily Living, the Extended Health Benefits Program, was based on, and I quote, the principles of equity, access, and the most effective use of available resources. What the Minister really means is we'll make it more unfair to use the system that will include charging seniors 20 or 25% of the cost of services. My question is, how can the Minister propose changes to these programs which will see Alberta seniors penalized for needed help by charging them up to $500 per year for services that they got free last year?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, we're not charging them up to $500 a year. What we're asking is a cost sharing of the costs of medical equipment and supplies up to $500 a year, beyond which it would be totally covered by the Department of Health. Members will know that we've had extensive discussion with respect to the AIDS to Daily Living program and Extended Health Benefits program in this legislature. And in addition to looking at a co-insurance which disregards age but rather looks at the low-income needs of all Albertans, a recommendation that was consistent with the Premier's Council on the Disabled report, we will also be providing $13.5 million worth of upgraded benefits under the program, including diabetic benefits, including power wheelchairs, including extensive new technology benefits under the program. It is a balance. We believe that the test of income is one that should apply to all Albertans as opposed to a specific age group. And again, if there are some concerns with respect to income testing, that will be covered under the new fully coordinated AIDS to Daily Living program.
Mr. Speaker, this is still a tax on the seniors, and many seniors groups around this province have already told the Minister that coverage for dental and eye care was inadequate, and that was as late as last year that the Alberta Council on Aging estimated that only about 60% of the cost of dental care was being covered. How can the Minister cut back on dental and eye care coverage when she already knew that it was inadequate for these seniors?
Well, Mr. Speaker, even with the adjustments we're making in our programs, Alberta will continue to lead and be one of the most generous provinces in all of Canada with respect to the service and support we provide to seniors in this province. Senior citizens this year, as part of the full budget, will be having benefits given to them, not just in health, but total benefits to seniors package, as the Treasurer noted, will be $1.2 billion of our total expenditure this year, up from $1 billion last year. And Alberta senior citizens will continue to have premium-free health care and premium-free Blue Cross as a priority program of this government. But we believe that the co-insurance provision, which is income protected, in order to update the technology that's applied for under the Alberta AIDS to Daily Living program, should be available for all Albertans, and those are the adjustments which we have made.
Edmonton Jasper Place, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark. Mr. Speaker, after 2 years of delay, thousands of Albertans were looking forward to the announcement in the budget of the Alberta Waste Reduction and Recycling Program. It seemed as if the province had finally realized that a blue box collection system is the first necessary step towards developing recycling industries with jobs and that can stand on their own feet. But we get to the fine print of the program and see that there is only $4.2 million in new funding, not the $6 million announced. And I wonder if the minister would explain, given this 15 cents per person per month in the budget, when he knows that it costs $2.50 to $3 per family to run a blue box program, what type of a program he's going to bring in. He said a moment ago he's looking at blue boxes. I wonder when he's going to stop gazing at his blue boxes and do something.
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, it is in fact $6 million. There will be an announcement in due course relative to the implementation of this program. Again, the honourable member has demonstrated his unwillingness to show any kind of patience or any degree of patience to wait and see how the program is going to be implemented. And Mr. Speaker, there's an old Chinese proverb: you don't travel 10,000 miles until you take the first step. And believe me, Mr. Speaker, this is a first step, a very, very significant step. All I can say to the honourable member, once again, stay tuned. You're going to like what you see.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have been patient for 2 years, and the reality is that
money does count in this operation.
Right.
Alpac's not waiting for their $450 million. They've already got it. In fact, that one pulp project gets 100 times as much money as the entire recycling program. How about them apples? I wonder why, if the minister would explain this, why the recycling community has to hold garage sales and bake sales to fund its program when all these pulp mills have a golden key to the treasury. Why is that?
You know, Mr. Speaker, it's so typical of this, of the honourable member. He criticizes and criticizes when something is not done, and once it happens, he still criticizes. The honourable member can never be happy. With respect to the program, Mr. Speaker, the details relative to its implementation will be announced in due course in conjunction with my honourable friend, the Minister for Economic Development and Trade, and the Minister for Public Works, Supply and Services. And believe me, Mr. Speaker, it's a first step toward the implementation of a program that's going to involve, Mr. Speaker, enhanced collection and separation of recyclables, incentives for new industries to establish in this province to take those recyclables and add value to them, and thirdly, a component that is going to involve government creating markets, as we have already started to do through the Department of Public Works. Where we've given priority on buying back materials that have been produced out of recyclables. Mr. Speaker, this is the kind of program that we're going to launch. It's going to be indeed a comprehensive waste minimization and recycling program, and the honourable member is going to be very happy with what he sees.
Abington Meadowlark. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it has become apparent through recent public statements that while the Minister of the Environment may want the Three Sisters Golf Course subjected to NRCB review, his counterpart in the Ministry of Forestry disagrees and may well undermine his authority to call for such a review. To the Minister of the Environment, will he confirm here and now that in fact he is in favor of an NRCB review of the Three Sisters Golf Course, that he will insist upon having that review undertaken, or is he going to lose another one to the Minister of Forestry?
I think that you've got to examine, once again, if you haven't already examined the NRCB legislation. It's obvious from your question that you haven't really looked at that legislation as you ought to have looked at the legislation, because you would find that within the NRCB legislation, there are programs that are on a mandatory list. In other words, tourism projects of a certain size automatically will have to go to the NRCB. And if you examine the size and the scope of this particular project, the Three Sisters project, you will find that there probably is no latitude. In other words, there's no room for ministerial discretion, and if indeed it fits the mandatory list, then it will have to go to the NRCB. Read the legislation.
They can't read. Mr. Speaker, it's also true that if an EIA is called on a project, that it must be reviewed by the NRCB. So could the Minister therefore please confirm that the EIA, having been called on the Swan Hills Waste Management Plant expansion, will require mandatorily, to use his words, that in fact an NRCB review will be called for that project as well, and will he confirm that here and now in front of all of us?
Mr. Speaker, again, the honourable member is wrong. Always. What he thinks, environmental assessment, EIA stands for Environmental Impact Assessment. The E doesn't stand for everything. Believe me, there are, Mr. Speaker, the NRCB legislation says that certain things will have to go to the NRCB. Major water diversion projects, major forestry projects, and major tourism projects. All other projects are left to ministerial discretion, and they are not necessarily, all projects are not necessarily triggered by an environmental impact assessment. Some projects have to go to the NRCB, some projects have to go to the NRCB, some projects that are considered to be environmentally sensitive are left to the minister's discretion.
I've had the opportunity recently to meet with a group of seniors and mentally and handicapped and brain-injured victims who are under the age of 65 years. And they've expressed their disappointment in this government's tardiness in reacting to reports such as the long-term care report, Roy Brassard's report in Claiming My Future, Premier's Council of Disabled report, and most importantly, the Rainbow report, chaired by Lou Heinemann. And all of these recommendations in these reports alluded to home and community care, outlining basically the directive to preventative health care, preventative needs, and keeping people out of institutions. Could the Minister of Health please indicate what this government is doing towards implementing these very important recommendations?
Mr. Speaker, there's been a substantial move again this year in terms of restructuring budgetary priorities in the Department of Health towards community assistance. I can tell the honourable member that community health services, vote 5 in the budget of health, will be increased by 20.4% over the previous year, as opposed to the acute sector of health, which will be increased 9% over the estimates of last year. A fundamental change in focus as we move towards enhancing our community support services. If you look to a decade ago, the exact opposite was occurring. Community health was receiving a far larger proportion of the increase than did the acute sector, and it's a statement of priority. With respect to helping Alberta citizens, regardless of age, to be staying in their home, a significant program announcement was made in the Provincial Treasurer's remarks last Thursday night, where when we agreed to extend the program of home care, and in particular the home support standalone component of home care, to those Albertans under the age of 65, and that will now be covered, and the programs mentioned will be eligible for funding under that home care for the under 65. That's excellent. Under 65 age group is very important too. And recently, in the report of long-term care where I chaired, and a recommendation came forward to the government regarding single point of entry. Could the minister outline whether or not these people under the age of 65 will be able to access single point entry as well? Yes, Mr. Speaker, a very important question, because as some honourable members may appreciate, the home care funding is a very different model than the institutional sector funding. Home care is given a budget through the health unit, and that budget is then allocated to those people who can use it most within that budget. The same will apply with respect to the home care for those under 65. It will be on an assessment basis, and those assessments will be done as the program is put in place. It's a very important priority as we look to ensuring that we can help people remain outside of institutions, and the whole focus of the single point of entry was to exhaust all community alternatives before institutionalization will occur. And that same theme that we've been applying in the long-term care sector will now be brought in for the under 65 home care sector.
Linton Kingsway.
Questions are to the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs. The Minister has in the past, in moments of rare candor, admitted that the Canada-U.S. free trade deal might erode Canada's social programs and regional economic development programs. The definition of unfair subsidy is still being developed as businessmen on both sides of the border try to force us into harmonizing our tax laws and our social programs. After 2 years of the free trade deal, can this minister show us any studies or release any facts that would show that the Americans are going to harmonize their programs upward to meet the Canadian level, or are the Canadian ones still going to continue to erode down to the American level?
They will.
The member for Edmonton Kingsway has prefaced his remarks with an inaccuracy, to put it in the kindest possible terminology. I have never indicated to this Assembly that our social programs are being eroded by the free trade agreement. I do not expect that to happen. That is not clearly the intent of the free trade agreement between Canada and the United States, and if the honourable member can produce any evidence to show that that is indeed occurring, I'd be very surprised. The difficulty, of course, in determining what is meant by a subsidy is one that was clearly recognized in the formulation of the free trade agreement, and discussions are underway, and may take some time to come to grips with what is indeed meant by a subsidy. That, of course, will apply to programs which may be in place at the state government level in the United States, at the federal level in the United States, and likewise with respect to the orders of government within Canada. Those programs and policies and practices, which indeed are trade distorting, should be eliminated. And that applies whether or not it is at the GATT level of discussions or in the free trade discussions between Canada, the United States, and hopefully soon with Mexico.
But what studies does he have to show that they're not our programs are not deteriorating?
That's right, you can't give me any.
And I've got a quote right here from the paper where the minister has said that he is very concerned. And I've heard him in this house say the same thing. However, my second question is slightly different. The president of Mexico, Carlos Salinas, is presently in Canada pushing the fast-track approach to a Mexico-Canada-U.S. trade deal favored by himself and George Bush. Now, Me Too Mulrooney, of course, can't wait to get on another George Bush bandwagon. Does this minister acknowledge that Mexico's poor labor laws, low wages, and lack of environmental protection pose a threat to Canadian workers and Canadian people generally?
The short answer to the question is no. But I would think it useful to point this out, Mr. Speaker, that people like the Honourable Member for Kingsway and his ilk who believe that Canada can live in a little dream world, not trading with the rest of the world, producing only for domestic consumption, while the facts of the matter are that Canada is a trading nation and must trade with the world in order to have economic prosperity. I know there's no convincing the likes of Kingsway that we must be traders in the world, but the rest of Canada and the rest of the world certainly know it.
Time for question period has expired. Standing Order 40 request. Member for Westlock Sturgeon.
My motion, number 40, is that the Legislature Assembly of Alberta, which you have in front of you, members have in front of you, request the government to put the Alberta Wildlife Park in trusteeship by setting aside the present foundation or appointing new members to the foundation so that the government is in the majority for the purpose of inviting and evaluating officers from various groups to operate the Alberta Wildlife Park in the future, Mr. Speaker. And in speaking to the motion...
Remember, Honourable Member, you're not speaking to the motion. It's a request for urgency. And then we put it to the House to see whether the matter will proceed. So it's a matter of your cogent argument for urgency.
Mr. Speaker, the matter of urgency is with us because it's not the Alberta Wildlife Park is not an inanimate object, Mr. Speaker, and indeed with 800 live animals in there, the future, if it's not decided and if there's no changes made, could mean that we would losing one of the most unusual and attractive features in tourism in Western Canada, certainly in Alberta. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the present board has shown, which is mainly has been there for some years, despite the fact they're not allowed to repeat themselves more than one term, has acted more or less as undertakers for the present minister rather than doing anything. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, when town of Bonnecourt wanted to appoint a member to the board, the present board refused to take any new nominations. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the present board, as it come to me through some of the prospective purchasers, have been more interested in negotiating something for their longevity rather than the park. So consequently, Mr. Speaker, if there's ever been a case where the government could take on trusteeship of an issue and solve the problem. And this is something that is not really political, it's just common sense. They can step into a gainers, they can step into a number of issues that are going under, but here we have a wildlife park where animals could be destroyed because of a minister's, I wouldn't say incompetence, but lack of competence in directing the area. Something that is attractive from coast to coast attention to the animals. Private investors, senior citizens and others have put in over 100,000, and the government is sitting there dangling their bonnet and plume while the whole thing is going down the drain. So it'd be very easy indeed for them, and I think it's very necessary that the government step in as soon as possible to put the thing into trusteeship and start entertaining offers, because it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If left in the hands of this minister, it will decay and die because there's no imagination, nothing is going on over there. So the government has to type in and take over trusteeship, Mr. Speaker. And that's the main reason for the urgency. If we leave it, we could lose one of our best attractions we have here in Alberta, as well as a lot of innocent animals going down the drain because we can't take action ourselves.
Standing Order 40 clearly says a motion may, in case of urgent pressing necessity previously explained by the mover only. So the request to the House for unanimous consent for the matter to proceed. Those in favor of allowing unanimous consent, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. No. Matter fails. Orders of the day.
Government motion.